Back when Disney purchased the distribution rights to Doctor Who and infused money into the show, a lot of us were cautiously optimistic. Sure, there was a lot of hand-wringing about the involvement in Doctor Who. People like non-British people, the woke agenda, and people that already wrecked Star Wars. The concern was that this would finish off a show that was already on the brink of ruin because of bad ratings and people who just really want the show to fail because they love misery. And while the show going away for a while is still possible, I think it's fair to say that Doctor Who is still Doctor Who, for the most part. But I haven't really seen where those dicks at Disney have made it unwatchable, like say an episode of Hannah Montana or The Book of Boba Fett. Doctor Who has always been woke and is still pretty darn British. But what we hoped would happen with the Disney money did. Because now if we want to do a show where we want to put the Star Beast on TV or make a 2D animation character stand next to our main character, we can create it in a way that doesn't look like complete ass on a green screen or somehow worse than Dick Van Dyke dancing with penguins in 1965. Unfortunately for us, this wonderful infusion of cash that makes the show look better than we have ever seen it may not last that much longer. This was the episode that I was most excited about after seeing the trailer. I had in my mind an episode kind of like The Blob, but with this Rubberman Cuphead 1930s animation. We didn't get that, but instead we got back in the olden days, 15 people gather in a theater when a whole bunch of coincidences happen to beam moonlight onto a screen when Mr. Ring-a-Ding is playing as the pre-movie cartoon. For reasons never explained, this chance beam carries with it a wisp of light that makes Mr. Ring-a-Ding an actual being with consciousness, and he starts talking to the audience. He keeps saying, "Don't make me laugh," like it'll mean something important. But the real reason is kinda dumb and just ends up sounding like an annoying catchphrase. Ring-a-Ding comes out of the screen and does God only knows what to these poor people. Meanwhile, the Doctor is trying to get back to May 24th, 2025, saying he can't get back to that specific day, making me wonder then why doesn't he just try and go back to May 23rd and see what's up? When he decides to make a thing that he explains acts as a fishing line to hook the Earth. This works somehow, but they end up in Miami 1952. Belinda is still in her sleep clothes, so they create a shot-to-shot remake of putting period clothes on, even though it's been established that the TARDIS perception filter makes them look like they belong wherever. But it turns out they didn't need all of this because it's 4 in the morning. Also, Belinda calls the Doctor a Time Lord, which I don't recall him saying, and in the last episode named TARDIS, even though that was never said, so we will officially name this Another Mystery Box. Although this could just be lazy writing. They leave the TARDIS, the Doctor claims the doohickey thing worked, and baits Belinda into letting him see why the local theater is chained up. I'm not saying it isn't mildly interesting to wonder why a picturesque movie theater recently showing a made-up Rock Hudson movie is chained up, but I guess a full year of fucking around with the Star of David, 6 months working his way up the ranks to become a planet's historian, and having to deal with incel Alan has really got the Doctor jonesing for even boring-sounding adventures. They head to the local diner, and the overnight diner guy is all into town gossip, telling them about the night when 15 people disappeared, while acting like he's from Nebraska instead of Miami, and points them over to Tommy Lee's mom, who comes here every night to stare at the movie theater, hoping her future drummer will come back. Also, she notices the TARDIS, so I guess her perception is really good, or the TARDIS perception filter is really bad. There seems to be a movie playing, and the folksy diner guy tells the Doctor and Belinda that the projectionist is still in there after 3 months, and he plays movies every night. The doctor opens the theater with the Sonic. They go inside, and there they meet Mr. Ring-a-Ding. He, aside from being a cartoon, acts really suspicious and keeps saying shit that either sounds mysterious or like a catchphrase. Anyway, they catch on to him being weird, and he finally tells them why they shouldn't make him laugh. And that's because he laughs in Argepetto. That's right, old Mr. Ring-a-Ding is now Lux Imperator, the god of light. You see, the night the glint of moonlight was conveniently and coincidentally showing onto Mr. Ring-a-Ding, the wisp that we talked about was able to inhabit the character, and he came to life. And he knows about the Doctor, considering the recent deaths of his colleagues, but Lux seems really unafraid of the Doctor, and the Doctor seems really afraid of him. He's about to come get the Doctor and Belinda when the projectionist turns on a song that Mr. Ring-a-Ding apparently has to sing anytime that it's played, and luckily this song is over 1.5 minutes long. Man, the 1950s audience for cartoons really loved singing characters. They get to the projectionist and he explains that Mr. Ring-a-Ding trapped all the people on film and lets the projectionist have conjugal visits with his dead wife at night while he plays movies because it feeds Lux. So really it's a win-win. He seems to feel bad about it, so we give him a pass, and then Lux comes in the room from underneath the door, threatens to burn the dead wife, and then traps Belinda and the Doctor on film. For some reason, this makes the Doctor and Belinda animated, but not in the same Fleischmann animation way, but in a Hanna-Barbera style. Because of this, they lack depth, so both of them get sad and become real again. I don't know either. You know as much as I do. The Doctor figures out that they are on film, and they start to flip the film reels, trying to get out. They do, but turns out it was fake because the cop forgot that he lives in Miami and not in New York, and the Doctor and Belinda go back into the film, only this time they decide to go out instead of up. This breaks the fourth wall, and they step into some people's living room watching Doctor Who on TV. Yes, RTD went there. Sorry if I spoiled this last week, that wasn't the intention, and I really didn't think that they would go this way. Believe me, I'm not happy about it. These stereotyped fans nerd out, name drop the episode Blink. Not one of you appreciates the subtle nuances of Heaven Sent?
Planet of the pudding brains.
Then get confusing because turns out they aren't actually real. Tell the Doctor the thing Mr. Ring-a-Ding keeps screaming about that he never does is go outside during the day, because apparently the God of Light can't handle too much light and is a vampire, and mention they're going to die now. For reasons I cannot even fathom at this point, the Doctor cries at this, and Belinda and the Doctor get sent back to the real world. Just kidding. They actually have to burn themselves out of the frame of the film by pushing on it, and they're finally back into the real world. Maybe. Time will tell. The Doctor burned his hand when he was doing that, uses regeneration energy that he has stored up to fix it. And I was going to blast this part, but then I remembered that Capaldi did it too, well past the time when having excess regeneration energy is typical. Lux sees this and wants it, so he ties up the Doctor with more film and starts stealing his regeneration energy. Mr. Ring-a-Ding starts turning real, looking fantastic as this really gross and scary 3D model. So the Doctor tells Belinda to run, because he knows what time it is, because he's a Time Lord. And a Time Lord knows what time it is. Thankfully, Belinda understands this as a riddle that she needs to solve, so she goes into the film closet, throws it on the ground, and begs the projectionist for a match. He finally relents because his dead wife guilts him into it, and her ghostly visage tells the projectionist to find her, triggering the start of another far scarier and psychologically disturbing story. Belinda lights the film, it explodes like it has dynamite included in it, and this lets the sunlight in, and starts to blow Mr. Ring-a-Ding up like he's a balloon at Macy's on Thanksgiving. Mr. Ring-a-Ding keeps growing to the point that he dissolves into light to I guess, become what it was before it hit the screen. A glint. Everything and nothing. The townspeople that disappeared from the theater are alive, including Tommy Lee, so all you future Motley Crue fans can rejoice. And the Doctor figures it's probably a good time for them to skedaddle before the whites remember what color they are. They do, and Mrs. Flood shows up to make the townspeople watch the TARDIS dematerialize and reminds us of when the finale date is. The end. So how was it? Well, I know that a lot of people online loved it. Let's start with the things that I liked. I really thought the episode looked gorgeous. They really took care on this one. Even if the rest of the season looks like dog, you can't argue these 2 episodes didn't look fantastic. The animation on Mr. Ring-a-Ding had details that you could tell that they truly cared. The homage to Fleischer Studio animation was well done, and even when they went 3D and the horrific look to Mr. Ring-a-Ding looked just so top-notch. Alan Cumming did a great job, especially in the very menacing parts. He brought good energy and he helped bring the character to life. I thought the character was realized well. The problems that I have with it come in its effectiveness, but we'll get to that. But it wasn't just Mr. Ring-a-Ding. The town looked great. The 50s aesthetic was fine, although I wish I had seen more of it and not in the dark, and the cinematography was high quality. I couldn't have asked for a Doctor Who episode to look better than the first 2 have this season. I continue to like Belinda. Her banter and attitude really connects with me. She basically saved this episode because I'm not really sure what the Doctor was doing when he told her to run. She's the one that saved the day when she touched the star certificates with Alan, and she's the one that gets the sunlight into the theater to take out Lux. She's quippy, relatable. She acts like a real person. I like that she isn't fully on board with what the Doctor does, but I also like that she's curious enough about the past to see what's going on in this town and to be charmed by him. She feels a little bit like an old school companion, like Barbara or Ian, that was trapped with the Doctor but starts to enjoy his lifestyle. I like that. I like that they gave a reason why the Doctor can't give her home. I like the premise of this season. I'm simple. Shut up. I liked the acknowledgement and some real discussion surrounding the time period and color of our TARDIS team. I mean, RTD certainly isn't going for the hard commentary here. It's still Doctor Who, but the easy thing for him to do would make it insanely preachy, but it doesn't come off to me that way in this episode. Even in the fake-out theater scene, Belinda has all the righteous indignation of someone from 2025, but it doesn't devolve into a sermon about the evils of racism in the 1950s. It was just presented as wrong each time because that's what it is. I agree, it's not a subject that can be ignored with a show about a time machine and both of the leads not being white, but I also don't want the show to turn into an after-school special. Things I didn't like. You could probably already guess that I didn't like the meta-commentary part. I mentioned it in my last review because there's a theory that's been posed that Mrs. Flood knows that she's in a TV show, and that's why she breaks the fourth wall all the time. And this little scene with the Doctor Who fans doesn't help dispel that theory, since I'm fully against it. I don't think this kind of meta-commentary or self-referential narrative brings anything good to Doctor Who. A show like Rick and Morty or Community can get away with something like this and really only do it in passing. Shows like that can tease the audience because every time it has been done as a full part of the narrative of the show, it fails horribly because it runs into the "it was all a dream" category. You just cannot say a show like Doctor Who was all a dream because this show doesn't ever intend to end. It doesn't work in our reality because the fantasy of it makes it fun in our reality. Look, I'm not smart enough to put into words how badly this will impact the show if it turns out to be true. However, I am starting to see the connections being made when I think back to Ncuti saying, "I'm really, really me" when he bi-generated in the title of the last episode of this season. I don't like where this is going. Plus, not for nothing, but the commentary that your fans are these stereotypical, eager, sad dweebs didn't really sit well with me. Look, I follow the fandom. I am part of it. And I know how diverse they are. There are all sorts of fans of this show, and not all of them are shy nerds that wear fezzes and long scarves. I agree there aren't as many of us left as there used to be, and some people just circle like vultures waiting for the show to die so they can pick at the woke bones. But I feel like your sweet poke at your fan base was a bit on the stereotypical side and felt a little hollow to me, and this is one of the exact reasons why going down this meta road is a bad idea. And you may think that this poke wasn't very hard and reviewers like me are being overly sensitive on the subject, but I challenge you to go back and watch the last meta commentary that RTD did on the fanbase about how we're a bunch of dorks that would be happy with blowjobs from concrete. I didn't like the use of yet another Pantheon god here. So now we've met the God of Light in our tour down the hallway of Discord. I know Harriet mentioned a bunch of them in her little speech, but I don't remember the God of Light or Lux being one of them. So this must be one of those boring sounding gods that didn't make the kick-ass speech cut. Like, you didn't even kill the 15 people you attacked, dude. You just mildly inconvenienced them with a 3-month time jump that they can be interviewed about every year by the Weekly World News. At least Sutek actually killed everyone until he was drugged through the time vortex, bringing life to life, which still doesn't make sense to me. You just made them into a movie, and you apparently can bring them back anytime you want, like you did with this woman for the projectionist. This is the problem with the Pantheon now. The Doctor just offed the mother and father of them all with a dog leash. So going up against Light sounds about as challenging as dropping the car shade. 4 up, 4 down, Doctor in the lead, and nobody has died except for the puppet guy. And you didn't even off 2 of them because the Beatles took out Mysterio and Belinda knocked a hole in the wall to kill the vampire cartoon. If you get all open-mouthed scared at the next one, I'm gonna have to really start worrying about you. Things I didn't understand. So these 15 people got committed to film, but they never got sad enough to be 3D again? Because I imagine being stuck in 2D animation or just 2D for 3 months would certainly make me sad enough to pop out. But then when they come back, they seem to act like they weren't conscious during this time, that they were put to celluloid. But if that's the case, why are the Doctor and Belinda conscious when the same thing happens to them? Forget the fact that being sad to break out of animation makes no sense and amounts to a pun. Why are these two able to move and run about when they're on film? And the explanation better not be exposed to the TARDIS, because that only goes so far. I don't understand. Who is the Harbinger? What is a Harbinger? Do all the gods get a Harbinger? Because every god so far has had one of these Harbingers, except for the Toymaker, and I guess he had Stooky Bill and the little Stooky Bobbies. Was the Harbinger Rock Hudson? Was Mr. Ring-a-Ding the Harbinger and the little Wisp thing the god? A little consistency in rules would be great for how this works. Doctor, I don't understand your plan here. You tell Belinda because you're a Time Lord, you know what time it is, and tell Belinda to run. Doctor, if this were me, I'd be running down the hallway and out the door to live out the rest of my days in 1952 because I would have had no idea you meant figure out my riddle. Holy shit, bro. How hard would it have been to just say get sunlight on Mr. Ring-a-Ding before this cartoon sucks me off? It's weird because you even joke about how the Doctor Who fans gave away the ending during the mid-credits sequence, but the Doctor can't just tell Belinda what to do and makes her figure out a riddle or else he dies? Not a good plan. Like, if she isn't clever enough to figure this moment out, you die when all you had to do was just tell her to open a window. I appreciate it when the Doctor is clever, and I've been missing it recently, but I also like practicality, and this f***ery is the most impractical thing to save the day as I've ever seen. Sure, I've probably been nitpicking everything to this point, but when I can even realize that my observations are being that way, I stick them in
Nitpick Corner!
Seriously, is it just because the Doctor is gay now that they make such a big deal about the clothes? I don't care that he's gay. My hang-up is with the other Doctors and companions when they didn't have to dress up and nobody cared. You guys look fire though, don't mind me. I'm just over here being a nerd. It's a mystery box so big, it's covering 2 seasons. It's the f***ist Flood. Well, her appearance this week really felt tacked on. Mrs. Flood shows up at the very end of the episode, basically feeling like Anita Dobson ran in extremely late to work and they just decided to film without her. I know all of the episodes are going to have a cameo of her, but it would be nice if you tried to work it into the story. Last week, she was at least Belinda's neighbor, even though you already did that with the last one, and that was fine. It at least made her feel like she was part of the thing. But here it just feels like you wrote the whole season, decided you wanted Mrs. Flood to be in every episode, and went back and wrote her into the ones that you originally left her out of. I hope we don't get a whole season of these types of cameos because it isn't adding anything to the mystery and it's just there. So I started out really liking this episode. I liked how the setup happened. I thought Mr. Ring-a-Ding was starting to feel scary and interesting. The look was amazing, the setting was cool, the soda hop diner guy, the sad mom, and the projectionist were all fun. The banter between the Doctor and Belinda had me in a happy little mood. And then, oh my god, we get another Pantheon god in this episode. And then, well, it just started to suck because I started to think about how easy every god had been dispatched so far, started wondering what the hell they were actually doing with the Doctor and these fans, got irritated with the commentary on Doctor Who fans even though I kinda understand why they would be irritated at us and want to make fun of us, and then watched as another Pantheon god was easily dispatched with no lasting effects. So sorry, I was left very, very underwhelmed. I give Lux a 5. It had a lot going for it, but it just didn't really hit the landing. And that's left me without a lot of hope for RTD written episodes. This one was basically the Devil's cartoon. Next time, do the Blob. Well, will you look at this? I'm up to 60 subscribers as of the writing of this script, and I wanted all 60 of you to know that each one of you have made my day at some point along the way. You're a cool person, and you officially can hear it from someone else. You are better than other people. If you haven't subscribed and want to make my day, go ahead, punk, and hit that button. And as always, I'm not salty, I'm just drawn that way. Call me salty ham, cause I don't give a damn. I try to make you laugh, not show you a bar graph. These are the jokes, ungrateful folks. They call me, oh yes they call me salty ham.